It's okay.
Okay, it's recording. It's recording.
Okay. To the salary board meeting for July 6th, 2020. Running a little bit late. Commissioner Murray stuck in a little bit of traffic on her way, but she told us to start without her. We're going to begin, as soon as I get my laptop up, with comments, if there is any. I don't see anybody for public comment. So we'll move to the minutes, June 1st, 2022 meeting. Any comments or questions? If none, is there a motion to the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Sorry.
That's all right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, going for approval of salary board actions. Have heard from Mr. McPhillips that he's pulling off his items for today, next meeting. So we're gonna, I'll guess entertain a motion to, unless you want to make a motion to table until the August. Motion made, seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. For the law department, Mr. Khan.
Good morning.
We have a proposed, this morning, this is position 657, Assistant County Solicitor. We are proposing to change the title to Deputy County Solicitor, the attorney who's currently in since joining the law department, along with other new attorneys who all kind of came in at the same level to learn the ropes of the important work of the Children in Sea, has risen to a point where a good portion of what she is doing now involves supervisory responsibilities, particularly with the assigned cases and oversight of other attorneys with respect to a court. And so for that reason, we would do what requires approval, which is to change her title from Assistant County Solicitor to Deputy County Solicitor. If the board approves that, that decision would need to be ratified by the Board of Commissioners, assuming that the commissioners wish to keep that attorney in that position. But that's the rationale for our motion. There's no change in any other aspects of the position.
Okay. Comments or questions for Mr. Khan? No? Is there a motion to approve items 1 and 2 for the law department?
So moved.
I'll second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
You too. Okay. District Attorney's Office. Mr. Weintraub?
Good morning, how are you?
Morning.
So I actually was expecting a full board. I don't know if this will change the complexion of my motion, but if you think that it might, would you let me know, please?
Okay.
I appreciate that. So I am before you to move for the addition of 2 new positions, and I know that it is always a principal and primary consideration as to how they're going to be paid for. And the positions in and of themselves are very important to what I'm trying to do principally, which is to get people into treatment to fight the opioid crisis, frankly to fight all the drug crises, but the opioid crisis is of paramount importance to what I have to say today. And to that end, independent of the county and the commissioners, I filed my own lawsuit under the Consumer Protection Law against the opioid manufacturers and distributors. And there were, for some reason unknown to me, there were only 10 district attorneys that took advantage of that across the entire county of 67 of us, maybe 12 or 11 if you count Philadelphia. And I was successful in joining, as you all know, the settlement agreement, which is going to net Bucks County, or gross Bucks County, I should say, an extra over and above that which the county settled for, an extra $4.5 million to combat the opioid scourge. And in looking at the all of the permissible uses for that money, I thought that one of the best ways that we could use that, at least from my perspective, law enforcement perspective, would be to try to divert as many people from the criminal justice system into treatment as we can, while still keeping the public safe. So in discussing this matter with people that know much more than I think that we've settled on this as being a good idea. I know in talking with Commissioner Marseglia, she asked, well, if this is going to add to your docket of work as assistant DAs and as staff for assistant DAs, would you be willing to also divert some of that funding that you essentially bargained and settled for to creating a public defender position as well? And I thought that would be a fair use of the money as well, because the goal is to try to save lives, divert people from the criminal justice system in hopes that we never see them again. And I would note that my counterpart, Ann Faust, is here. She and I have discussed this at length. I'm sure she's in favor of this, were I to call her up here. So that's a long-winded way of saying, please approve my two new positions here. And I would also note that although I did try to put it through on this salary board action, I was going to have a position, a commensurate position deleted from my manning table, a district attorney position, assistant district attorney position. So the net gain to me here will be the administrative assistant position. But in candor to the board, I still want to retain the funds so that I can pay the person that I intend to hire for this position, but also redistribute equitably the funds to my other assistant DAs who do the bulk of the work. So I would like to make the motion, and then I'll ask for any questions if there are any, but I would move for the county to add a drug diversion and prosecution deputy 1, and the county to add an administrative aide in drug diversion to the manning tables.
Okay.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. And just to kind of echo the point that Mr. Weintraub made, we are looking at a balance, maybe as soon as August, of having the public defender also use some of the opioid funds for this purpose, so they can have some staff, which obviously can work together with yours and accomplish the goal of helping people who need this help. So, any other comments or questions?
Yeah, Matt, I know you mentioned that you had filed a separate lawsuit along with 10 or 11 other district attorneys around the state of Pennsylvania. And I think it's important to note that for Pennsylvania, the state, to get the maximum amount of money, which now appears to be over $1 billion, those district attorneys or municipalities around the state that had filed separate lawsuits had to all be on board with going along with the suit. So if, in fact, you would have went on your own and not signed on to that Bucks County would have gotten significantly less than the $45 million. I think it was more than $4.5 million. We would have gotten really penalized if you would have continued on with your lawsuit. Isn't that correct?
It is correct. I don't want to take credit for doing something that many people thought I was supposed to do, but that is correct. Bucks County, we would have lost my $4.5 million, and Bucks County would have been penalized, I think, 10% or even 20%. So it would have been a net loss of about $13 million, which was one of the reasons I really wrestled with it and then decided to join. But I think that this would be money well spent and put to good use to try to save some people's lives and get them out of the criminal justice system.
I agree. I agree with you. I'm in favor of you being able to do this. Thank you.
Okay. Anything? No? I know there was some question. I know you were having a conversation with Mr. Kahn from the law department about the funds that were going to be coming to you, to your office, because you filed the suit separately, and how those funds could be expended. And I know you're going to reach out to the Attorney General's office and Mr. Wade, who's working on the opioid. Were you able to find out, is there a resolution to that? Or I know we're talking about maybe not hiring anybody yet till we know precisely that we can do this the way we think we can do it.
Yes, on that point, Mr. Wade was unequivocal, that this is a permissible use of the funds. To be completely candid, I don't see Mr. Khan, was he?
Yeah.
Mr. Khan and I have had continued discussions about other very fine or esoteric points to the settlement agreement, but I fully intend to turn my money over to the county for its highest and best use in trying to do opioid prevention and education and trying to save people.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I did just remember, so once you do the division, we know that these positions are not necessarily permanent, that when this money is gone, we're going to have to find another way, or the attrition or something, we'll have to take care of things. So Mr. Boscola will duly note that.
Well, if he is noting that, I would note that this money is good for 17 years. with
That's what I mean.
$4.5 million.
He's not going anywhere. Yeah.
We just like to keep that on the record, so there's no.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? No? All right, so we do have a motion and a second for items 1 and 2 on the District Attorney's Salary Board. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Sheriff Haran.
Commissioner
Morning.
Chairman, members of Salary Board, I'm before you today for a very large ask. As you know, as I took office just this past January, the first 6 months, I really spent evaluating the office, seeing where deficiencies were, also seeing where there were weaknesses, which I discussed many of these with you in private. And I'm here today to ask for 8 new deputy positions on the manning table and 1 full-time sheriff's clerk position. So when I was director of public safety in Bensalem Township, my dealings with the Bucks County Sheriff's Office were simple. It was normally 2 phone calls. One is, from Bensalem, we would have a prisoner be picked up, and the second phone call to Bucks County was, where are you? And what that means for the manning table is that it took the sheriffs an awful long time to get to the 39 police departments to pick up prisoners to transport them to the prison. What does that mean to the citizens of Bucks County? That means that officers are off the street in different municipalities watching prisoners within their police station waiting for sheriffs to come down and transport them. I had vowed that when I became sheriff that would stop, and we are increasing the times of picking up prisoners and transporting them so that municipal police officers who respond to 911 calls are not stuck in police stations watching prisoners when that is the job of the sheriff's office. Over time, we have continued. What I've done is I've done a study to look at the last 5 years, and we have just about across the board a 25% increase in our calls for service in the sheriff's department. What does that mean? PFAs, warrant service, picking up prisoners, working with all the different areas within the criminal justice system, PD's office, adult probation parole, domestic relations, the district attorney's office. Every office across the street touches the sheriff's office in one way or another. Security, as I believe is your also top priority, is my top priority for the criminal justice system and the people of Bucks County. Some of the things that have also impacted the sheriff's office have been COVID. Slowing down and reducing the speed in getting prisoners in and out of facilities, not just Bucks County facility, but the other facilities in Pennsylvania, facilities across the country where we must now pick up prisoners and bring them back. That also, COVID has also slowed that procedure down. Again, as I said earlier, many of the issues I can't discuss publicly because they are a safety concern, but you are aware of them. Just a little history. January 20th, 2015, I guess Commissioner Marsaglia was here at that time as commissioner, but most other people weren't. There were 11 courtrooms in Bucks County. On July the 6th, which is today, 2022, there are currently 14 courtrooms in Bucks County, plus drug court, plus grand jury drug court and grand jury are on this side of the street, which require sheriffs. Sometime now, in the summer of 2022, there will be 4 more courtrooms open at the CJC, bringing the total to 18 courtrooms plus 2 ancillary courtrooms, which brings it from 20. So from 11 to 20 rooms, with the sheriffs have only increased, if my numbers are correct, looking at history, only about 4 sheriffs were added on since that time. Almost every day in the CJC, the sheriff's office is pulled in a million directions, which are fine. They were more than happy to do all this by all the other departments. My only concern is public safety, as I know yours is. The 8 deputies that I'm asking for will be used first to man those courtrooms. Although there are no new judges, 4 more courtrooms, as I had kind of joked at Salary Board last time I was here, there are going to be 4 more staplers purchased. We're not going to be sharing staplers from courtroom to courtroom. 4 more staplers would be purchased. Therefore, you'll need enough deputies to cover those courtrooms. Additionally, the 1 clerk that I'm asking for is to be utilized to do checks on warrants that were going out. Some time ago, if you remember the story of the FBI agent that was killed by serving a warrant for a person in possession of child pornography. As the district attorney, I have talked when I was in Bensalem, and my policy changed in Bensalem immediately the second day, is that there will be investigations done on all warrants being served. Child pornography possession are normally not violent offenders. This particular case, an FBI agent got killed. One of my goals here is that a sheriff never gets injured. We saw over the weekend a sheriff in Montgomery County was shot assisting the city of Philadelphia. That is not something I ever want to have to make a phone call to the commissioners. Security and safety is my #1 priority. I believe these people are needed to provide that and to the citizens of Bucks County. I know that money is extremely difficult. I'm before you also as a member of Salary Board, but whatever you feel that you can afford at this moment, I would respectfully request and be very pleased with that outcome.
Comments or questions?
I can just make a couple, first a question. In Bensalem, they didn't use the constables to transport prisoners?
Not for warrants that are picked up, no ma'am.
Okay, so it was, if a police officer picked somebody up on a warrant, that's when you needed the
Correct, yes,
sheriff's
ma'am.
department to get there. So just a couple things. I appreciate your passion, and I appreciate your stapler analogy, but we are trying to get the courts to use electronic instead of staplers. And so we're hoping you will modernize as well, and there'll be more use of video courts.
Love that.
So that should mean you will need less sheriff deputies. I would also caution you not to compare the Philadelphia situation with that sheriff deputy on overtime, on a weekend, doing a favor to manning the courtrooms in Bucks County. I had voted for many years against the new courthouse being built, but the one thing the judges kept telling me over and over again was there will be less trials, less need of the courtroom if there's more courtrooms because people will settle more. Hence, we will need less sheriff deputies, actually, than we had. So that was their selling point. So you're kind of wrecking their selling point on that one. Having said that, I do think that you may find out that you do need people if we can't get video court running. But I think that's part of next year's budget. I also think that you need to test this out because the courtrooms aren't even open yet. What if they take till September or October to get open? So this is something I think we should be talking about a little bit later, scaling it in, although I do understand you have 2 people here that 2 sheriff deputies positions related to domestic relations.
Yes, ma'am.
And that sounds like that's a priority right now.
Yes. May I respond? 2 things. One is it does take about 4 months to get a deputy through sheriff. So it's not like if the courtroom's open all of a sudden, and we know there are equipment on back order, chairs, things like that, but who knows where they are on a slow boat somewhere in the Atlantic or the Pacific. But they could get here any day. So it does take time to get people onboarded. So it's not something you can say, oh, the courtrooms are open, now let's hire, because that does take time. The second issue with the stapler, I understand, and I wasn't here, I was enjoying the good life in Bensalem. I understand what the judges said. However, my understanding is if there are 12 people before a judge for bench warrants or for whatever, probation, parole violations, they will now split, and 6 will go to one judge in a courtroom that is now open, and 6 will go to another judge. So what you've done is you've now split your deputies. So as I explained, a prisoner has to go to the bathroom, you need to escort them with a deputy. So just because they might not need staplers or they don't need more judges or clerks or whatever, it is going to split the sheriff's department. And that's an area that we don't want to let our guard down in any way, because it's always okay till the day it's not okay. But I appreciate, and as we talked about domestic relations, and again, I know I understand your budget issues, and whatever we can do right now, I would take gratefully, respectively, and then certainly reevaluate, as you said. I think that's fair.
Okay, listening to the discussion here today, I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Chairman. I move that we agree, the salary board agree to the 2 additional hires for domestic relations for now. And I hear, this is not part of the motion, but as I hear some of the challenges that you have coming up in the very near future, and I'll come back to the salary board at whether it's next month or the month after that, and we'll see about hiring some additional people. So I move that we hire the 2 people for domestic relations right now.
Second.
And you do have, I'm sorry, go
I
ahead.
was just going to add 2 sheriffs, because he also had on, as a proposal, I think, a clerk, right? So the motion is 2 sheriffs.
2 sheriff's deputies, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and you do have the 2 positions, I believe, the domestic relations that we're talking about are budgeted, correct? So when they're already in your budget, I think?
Well, the
I see
positions
Mr.
They are,
are.
Mr. Buscola is saying yes, so.
Yeah, they're most, I mean, they have 2, I think it's 2/3 paid by the state and 1/3 by the,
I'm told that those positions were never added from 2 from Sheriff Donnelly, and then there were 2 added under Sheriff Worrell, and I'm told that they never came to salary board or the commissioners to increase the staffing by 4. So it would be pulling from the current manning that we have. It's from what I'm told of the history, from everything I've been shown and I've been told by people that have been here a long time, is that they were never added under Sheriff Donnelly or Sheriff Worrell. So it is what it is. So if I get 2 today, that would be 2 additional. But the other 2 were never added. I'm also requesting the clerk position. Our clerks are working at full capacity, and I've been watching for 6 months. And you know, I was big on this in Ben Salem, making sure there's not a lot of coffee time, downtime, smoke time, and I don't find that at all in the sheriff's office. I think that clerk is also there's more and more being requested of us, and I think that clerk is very is necessary in order to perform the function safely. So I know I'm not sure, but I know I'm on salary board, but I haven't heard comments or questions yet. I would request that if that motion could be amended to add the clerk. That would be appreciated, because it is an issue. If not, I'm going to have to use a sworn body to do some of that work.
Do you have any officers that are down there that are on, you know, what do you call it, an adapted leave or
No.
anything like that? Where
No, I'm not, as you'll find, I'm not big on the light duty positions. and we do
sometimes you
not
don't have any choice if someone has a, you know, a illness or something that's limiting what they can do.
The problem, and I'm not a lawyer, but for everything I've been told from labor attorneys dealing with them, you know, as director for the last 16 years, once you start to create that full-time position as a light duty, that's what the city of Philadelphia has gotten stuck with, so many sworn officers inside. That's a very bad precedent to set, because now you have an inside position and the unions will jump on that. So I do not want to start that, and knock on wood, we don't have any light duty sheriff deputies right now, so thank God for that.
you do have do you have a per diem clerk position?
I believe the per diem was pulled at the last, because if you remember when I came to you for that lieutenant's position, one of the things that you wanted back was the per diem position, so that position was gone. Also, we all know, there's no secret, I don't know what we're gonna get for $16 an hour as a part-timer right now, of somebody of any substance that could do the job I'm asking them to do. It would be very, I don't know if it would give me what I need to get done.
Okay.
I mean, Wawa's paying $18 an hour. Counties can't even beat Wawa's salary.
Do you have money in your budget to afford the clerk position?
No, I have no money for the clerk position. I don't believe I do, and I do not have money for the 2 deputies. I mean,
Wait a minute, just a second. You do have money for the 2 deputies, correct? That's in the budget.
I do not.
Well, if Mr. Buscola, the finance director, is telling you that, you should just go with that.
Well, if I have,
But can I just also tell you, are you saying that you came here for a lieutenant's position, and part of the deal was you would get rid of a position, and now you're coming back to have that position put back in, like, that's sort of like not how this is
well, I'm
supposed to
not asking
roll.
for a per diem. I'm asking for a full-time.
So you got rid of a per diem to get the lieutenant position, but now we need to replace that with a full-time. I don't know. I need to think about the math a little bit longer on how that would work.
Yeah, I mean, just and I understand, because I've done it myself, coming into an office where you've just inherited a budget that you had no input on. I get it, so talking to Mr. Boscola, he's kind of confirmed with us that the money is there for the 2 domestic relations positions. Now, the positions aren't necessarily there, but the money's there. So that's obviously a good thing. So in other words, we can add these 2 positions that Commissioner DiGirolamo made a motion for, and it's budget neutral, which is obviously a good thing.
I mean, if you say so, I don't necessarily believe, from what I'm told by my staff, that's not true, but if he says it's true, I'm good with that. So at the end of the year, if I'm over budget, remember this day.
Okay,
It's on tape.
okay.
Remember this day.
So we do have a motion and a second for the 2 2 positions, deputy sheriffs for the domestic relations. So is there a motion and second? I'll call a vote at this point. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. All right. So, okay, thank you. All right, any other matters to come before the board? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.